Move? Don't move? Run? Scream? Gareth stood frozen in the dense underbrush of the forest, his heart pounding like a drum in his chest. The weight of uncertainty pressed down on him, a leaden shroud that enveloped him as he struggled to process his predicament. The forest was eerily silent, a hush settling over the trees that sent chills racing down his spine. The only sounds breaking the stillness were the gentle burble of the nearby river and the occasional crackle of the open fire, where he could almost feel the warmth beckoning him. Oh, Lumine, why is it so quiet? Understanding dawned on him like a cold wave crashing over his senses. This unsettling silence was a warning, a primal alert that echoed through the very fabric of the forest. The life forms that thrived in this ecosystem had evolved to recognize threats, and when danger lurked nearby, they went into hiding. The realization shot through him like lightning, illuminating the danger that surrounded him, but it was far too late to escape its grasp. The creature before him remained utterly still, its muscles coiled like a spring, seemingly poised to strike. Gareth's heart raced, each beat a reminder of his impending doom. What was it waiting for? He was trapped in a perfect ambush, with no chance of escaping its clutches. There was no way he could outrun it, nor could he defend himself against its primal strength. His biosuit might offer minimal protection, but against teeth sharp enough to rend steel, it would only prolong his suffering for a few agonizing moments. Pen. His thoughts drifted to his companion, the woman who had always seemed to know what to do in perilous situations. Should he scream? A fleeting hope flickered within him, imagining her swooping in to save him once more. But more than that, he thought of her safety. If he couldn't save himself, he could at least warn her of the lurking danger, giving her a chance to evade the ambush. The creature's eyes flickered, and its ears perked up, sensing something beyond Gareth. Those glowing spheres of light seemed to focus on a point behind him, a predatory instinct igniting as it locked onto its target. Its ears twitched, capturing sounds from every direction, keenly attuned to the nuances of the world around it. Then, he heard it, a voice, smooth and commanding, cutting through the tension like a knife. It was Pen's voice, calm and resolute, ringing out from behind him. She was closer to the fire, but still only about 15 or 20 feet away. Look it in the eye. Don't shake or yell. Just look it in the eye and back away slowly. Don't turn. Don't run. Move slowly and deliberately. How am I supposed to see where I'm going? What if I fall? Does it even recognize my eyes as eyes? What? Gareth pushed his frantic thoughts aside, focusing on her voice, the lifeline she offered in this moment of terror. He fixed his gaze on the creature, praying for a miracle, and began to detach himself from his paralyzed state. Every muscle screamed at him to flee, but he forced himself to move slowly, deliberately. The creature's eyes shot back to him, and a jolt of white-hot fear coursed through his veins. The instinct to freeze surged again, but he fought against it, substituting raw panic with the logic of survival. In moments like this, it's wise to heed the experts. Penn was undoubtedly the expert in this situation. He had to trust her. As he moved, the creature twitched forward, its sharp teeth glinting ominously in the dim light of the forest. "Aye!" Penn's shout shattered the tension, echoing off the trees like thunder. The creature recoiled, its attention snapping back to Penn. Gareth took a few cautious steps back, his heart pounding louder than ever. He was now 10 feet from where Penn had originally stood, but she had closed the distance, positioning herself right behind him. He felt a warm, reassuring hand rest on his shoulder, a gesture that steadied his increasingly shaky legs. The creature remained poised and alert, watching them intently, its glowing eyes flicking between the two of them, assessing the threat they posed. What now?" Gareth whispered, his voice trembling. "Behind. Me." Without breaking her intense gaze on the creature, Penn gently but firmly pushed him around her right side. She took a deliberate step forward, positioning herself directly between Gareth and the looming threat. "Back. Slowly." "Same as before." Gareth nodded, instinctively mirroring her movements as they began to inch backward toward the fire. He could feel her heartbeat pulsing through her wrist, a rapid but steady tempo that somehow calmed him. It reminded him that they were still alive, still fighting against the odds. A few steps passed without incident, but suddenly the creature lunged forward, a flash of motion that sent adrenaline surging through Gareth's veins. Instinctively, Penn shot out a bluff, letting out another fierce yell. "Aye!" The creature jumped back, its body coiling, front paws crouching as it prepared for an attack that never came. Penn continued to guide them backward, step by step, until they halted just within the flickering light of the fire, the warmth a stark contrast to the tension that enveloped them. "Wait." The creature's tense posture relaxed slightly, though its gaze remained fixed on them, its glossy eyes reflecting the flickering flames, but making no move to advance. What Gareth began, but Penn silenced him with a quick gesture. "Just keep watching it." The wolf began to move, not toward them but to the side, leading with its head low to the ground, eyes never leaving their forms. Its ears twitched, keenly attuned to any hint of sound as it started to circle to its left. Gareth followed Penn's lead, turning his body to match its movement. The wolf circled back toward the berry bush, but then it stopped suddenly. An ear twitched, then it raised its head, nostrils flaring as it sniffed the air, searching for something just beyond its reach. Then, without warning, it bounded away into the dark depths of the forest, the sound of its retreat fading into silence. The only mark of its presence was the fading crunch of its paws on the dry twigs of the forest floor. Penn remained still, her gaze fixed on the spot where the creature had vanished into the shadows, her expression focused and unyielding. Moments passed in heavy silence, each second stretching into an eternity. Then, gradually, the sounds of life returned around them. A squirrel chattered at the base of a nearby tree, an owl hooted from high above, and the buzz of insects harmonized with the croaking of frogs by the river. Pen's shoulders relaxed, and she let out a long, relieved sigh, a weight lifting from her shoulders as the forest returned to life. "You good?" she asked, glancing at Gareth with an assessing look. "Penelope, I have been blown up, thrown out of the back of my ship, plummeted to the surface of an unknown planet, and now been attacked by a wild animal 4 times my size, all within the span of 48 hours. I'm cursed. There's no other explanation." "I'm alive," he replied, his voice laced with disbelief, as if the very notion of survival felt surreal. With a playful smack on his back that nearly sent him tumbling forward, Pen grinned widely. "That's victory." Finally, his nerves began to settle, the adrenaline coursing through him slowly ebbing away, leaving only the echo of his racing heart. "Was that a bear?" he asked, curiosity piqued despite the lingering fear. Pen laughed as she lowered herself to sit by the fire, her demeanor shifting from tense to relaxed. "Ha! No, not quite. That was a wolf, basically, the other forest predator to watch out for. Smaller, but they hunt in packs." "I'm sorry, smaller?" Gareth echoed, incredulous. That creature had seemed 5 or 6 times his size. In some respects, it was even larger than Pen, though their differing builds made comparison tricky. "Yeah. Bears are hefty creatures," she explained, leaning back and gazing into the flames as if finding comfort in their glow. "About how much larger than that thing, the wolf?" Gareth pressed, still grappling with the enormity of the encounter. "Depends on the bear, but I'd say maybe twice. A bit less, maybe a bit more?" Pen shrugged, her casual demeanor at odds with the gravity of their previous encounter. "And your people survived by having to fight something like that?" he asked, his mind racing with questions, trying to piece together the odds they faced. Pen shook her head, her expression growing serious. "Oh no! You don't fight a bear. You leave, quickly. Sure, there are a few stories of lucky encounters, but they're rare. The unfortunate ones far outnumber the fortunate." "Wait, did you say those wolf things hunt in packs?" "If that's the case, why was it?" Gareth inquired, confusion evident in his voice. "Perhaps it's a loner," Pen suggested thoughtfully, her eyes narrowing as she considered the possibilities. "They're social creatures, like humans, but there are various reasons why one might be found alone. It could have been ostracized from its pack, lost, or even an older wolf that decided not to burden its offspring. Regardless, a lone wolf isn't likely to last long." Why is that? Gareth pressed, eager for understanding. Lone wolves die. It's simple survival. Their strength lies in their pack strategy. Without it, they'll struggle to find success in hunting. Eventually, they'll starve. It's sad, really. Almost makes you feel bad for the poor guy. But it's not a complete death sentence. Sometimes, they find a new pack that accepts them. Just speculating here, of course, she added with a shrug. If he was starving, why did he wait so long? I couldn't have stopped him if he'd tried to bite me, Gareth pondered aloud, frustration creeping into his voice. You may have known that, but he didn't, Penn pointed out, her tone steady. I didn't think it was that unclear, Gareth replied, crossing his arms defensively. For you or me, sure. But to an animal, you freezing in place was a display of confidence. You didn't run. You didn't turn away. That would have signaled to him that you were prey. It's a gamble on his part. If he attacked and was wrong, it could mean the end for him. So, he held back, weighing the risk, Penn explained, her eyes focused on him as if trying to impart the wisdom of her experience. So, we kept up the facade, and in turn, he wasn't going to risk taking damage that could be fatal. And he ran because he heard or smelled an easier meal somewhere else? Gareth surmised. Nah, he heard me yelling, but the lady was spot on about the old part, Penn replied, her gaze darting toward the trees. Gareth whipped around, lamenting the strain this constant stress was putting on his body. A rugged-looking man emerged from behind a tree, blending into the surroundings terrifyingly well, but now making no attempt to hide himself. Gareth turned back to Penn, who seemed unfazed by the new arrival. The man chuckled, a low, gravelly sound. I suppose he wasn't the only one who heard me. He definitely heard you before I did, but I know what boots on wet clay sound like, Penn remarked with a slight smirk. The man regarded her with a nod of respect. Well, you're definitely the ones they're looking for. They? Gareth asked, confusion flaring again. Yeah. That Captain Deeg, dog-looking, friendly type? He said they were missing a little one and a big human woman. If you ain't a scrawny little fella and she ain't an imposing some bitch, then I'm blind, the man said with a grin, his eyes glinting with amusement. Penn raised an eyebrow, clearly entertained. How far are we? She asked, her curiosity returning. About 20 minutes that way, he said, pointing with a thick thumb behind him. Is everyone okay? Gareth pressed, a note of worry creeping back into his voice. I think so. No talk of casualties. I'll tell you, you gave us a hell of a scare soaring right over the town. Landed just past us, the man explained, his voice steady and reassuring. Thank goodness, and apologies if we, Gareth started, but the man raised a hand to halt him. Plenty of that already, he interjected with a chuckle, his tone lightening the moment. "All right." Gareth felt a tinge of embarrassment wash over him, shifting his weight from foot to foot. An awkward silence lingered for a moment before the man broke it, his grin returning. "So, what'll it be? You want to go see your friends, or would you rather sleep in the dirt another night?"